Welcome everyone back to Mr. Weather Updates, and today's video we'll look at the live radar as always. Look at the UKV, having a look at temperatures, sorry about that, for the next 5 days, and the temperatures as well. Looking at GFS, ECM and the UK map for the 2-week forecast. I'll have that for you in a minute. So if we do have a look at the live radar, you can see there is quite a, again, it's bone dry for the majority of England, other than patchy drizzle at the Northern Highlands, and there's even some light showers in North Yorkshire, so Northern England. That's going to move to the southeast as the winds are in the northwesterly direction. That's going to go down there, so could even hit my area actually if it, if it was right. So we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, that's but unfortunately, there's not much rain at all to come until the weekend. No rain tomorrow. We'll get the first, well, maybe some, but the first actual batch of rain will be on Saturday, which we'll have a look at the moment in this UKV chat. And again, talking about that, looking at the precipitation for the next 5 days, you can see once again it's been, a bit cloudy, a bit grim at times, with the odd, break in the clouds with some patchy drizzle possible throughout the day, of course. That will gradually start to break as we go into the evening, so very gradually though. Yeah, so it does do that. So it's becoming a lot more patchy, doesn't it? Okay, so yeah, there's still some showers possible in the north-west of England, so that's the Highlands. Sorry, United Kingdom, not England. Otherwise, Friday is not a bad day in terms of weather. A bit of high-level cloud in the west. That will quickly burn off to become quite a pleasant day. If anything, it does kind of overdo the cloud cover just a little bit. Cloud will stay in the south for most areas. And we've got some bands of rain already pushing through Scotland. So this is the frontal system. A weakening cold front will give some patchy rain. If I'm being completely honest, it's not going to get that much. But behind it, we'll have a little bit more to come in the way of long spells of rain. Maybe even heavy at times, if you're really lucky as well. And that moves south. And the south do have some negligible showers and rain as well. I don't think it's a total up to too much. Otherwise, after Sunday, it's not too bad. Nice and clear. Not much cloud around. It's like the calm after the weather front. Monday is not a bad day actually. It's a bit nice and clear right before we have another approaching weather front. So not bad actually. It's falling at night, so at least we're not getting soaked at night. So yeah, some more showers and further spots of rain on Monday and into Tuesday as well. And this is actually as the temperatures rise. We'll have to see what happens there. If you do have a look at the UKV temperatures now, you can see. If we have a look for tomorrow's temperatures, we can have a look and see what that is in a moment. Down here on the bottom, where is it? There we go. Okay, well, sorry about that. Anyway, looking at the Friday temperatures in the meantime. Obviously, it's been a little bit warm. It will be getting a little bit warmer as we go for the weekend. A bit cooler in some areas, but still going to be quite a warm day in the southeast. But like I said, there's a notable sort of contrast from the northwest and the southeast. So northwestern areas such as the Northern Highlands and northwestern Scotland, we are lingering in the teens, which is quite good. Well, quite fresh, let's say, very recent. Even in Scotland, it's not been in the teens for a little while, about a week or two. Otherwise, eastern Scotland a little bit warmer than the rest. 22 Celsius still possible in Aberdeenshire, in western Scotland. And then over to England, northern England, you can see again quite similar theme actually. In the Pennines, we're in the high teens, but in the east, we're now in the mid 20s. So quite pleasant there. Obviously, that's where the fresher fuel is going to be arriving from there. Looking over to the rest of the areas, so that's central and southern England, we're in the high 20s, so mid to high 20s widely. So we could see 27, perhaps an isolate 28 Celsius is still possible. So still quite warm actually in southeast. For quite a long time, it has been 28 degrees. For quite a long time. If you do have a look at Saturday, you can see the heat does actually build in a bit further. That's before the weather front comes in, and that will sweep off the rain as you go along. You can see here, northwestern Scotland, we're in the mid to low teens. So very disappointing temperatures for the time of year. Could still see an isolated 20 Celsius in eastern Scotland, but that's getting washed away. Obviously, it's a cold front, so obviously it's going to introduce fresher weather. So, yeah, that's what it is. Looking at Northern England, you can see here we're in mid-teens. But in eastern Northern England, we're more likely to see 20 Celsius. But as you go more west, of course, it's going to be a lot cooler. However, a bit of a contrast, because you can see here, well, it's got low teens in Scotland. We've got high 20s in southeastern area in England. So 29, maybe even I say 30 degrees is possible. So nearly a 20-degree split between the northwest and the southwest. Sorry, northwest and the southeast, should I say. Looking over to Sunday, it's a lot cooler for me, completely honest. If anything, a little bit below average, a bit fresher, if I'm being honest. More average conditions in the southwest, though. Again, all of Scotland is now in the mid-teens with the isolated 20 Celsius possible. Same goes for Northern England. We're in the high teens, low 20s. Then the rest of areas, so that's southern central England, we're in the low to mid-20s, 23, maybe an isolated 24 Celsius possible. So a lot closer to seasonal average, for a little bit below. But as we go into Monday, we can see very gradually we get a bit of a warming trend coming in once again. Not yet in northern Scotland, still into teens, so still going to see highs at 18 Celsius is the most likely. And the same goes for Northern England, still in the mid-teens. But more likely a little bit warmer in the northeastern England. So this time we could see 22, 23, 24 Celsius in northeastern England. So a bit of a contrast for east and west. And the rest of areas in the southwest, you can see we're in the mid, perhaps even high 20s. So getting back towards the heatwave thresholds once again after, I'll say, a weekend of respite, which unfortunately is not going to last very long because we've got another one coming, haven't we? So yeah, 26, 27. Again, we can see an isolated 28 Celsius as possible. So it's definitely going to be on the, let's say, rising trend in warmth, really. I always see to get that as we go on for the week. So if we have a look at the GFS models, we've got the 0Z, the 12Z and the 18Z. We can see here we've got the Azores side to the west, that's blocking any Atlantic systems. And throughout the week, it's going to weaken. It's not going to weaken, actually. It's going to retreat to the south. And that's going to make way into a cold front. So that's obviously going to be showers, perhaps long spells of rain over the weekend. However, as we go into next week, there's a ridge of quite intense heat, actually, from the continent. That's going to push southeastern areas. But we still have an Atlantic regime in the northwest. So, unfortunately, northwestern areas are not going to be feeling the heat. But as we go more southeast, actually, it's going to be a lot warmer, really. This is obviously this is only 1-1. After we get to August, we have more of an Atlantic regime in the northwest, especially with changeable conditions. But once again, it wants to build in ridges of high pressure. Then we've got this low pressure system. Then it's going to eventually come in a bit of a trend, really, into what August looks like, actually. If we have a look at temperatures, what they are trying to predict, which is a bit unlikely, if anything. But let's see what they're trying to predict over this. Now, I know that last night it did bring out some insane temperatures, really, which we know, obviously the last forecaster did, it was wrong. But it is, this is very unlikely to verify, but if it does, it could be quite extreme. So this is a 0Z1, we can see here we're widely in the 30s, where if this had to verify, we would see highs of 36 to 37 or 38 Celsius likely. This is only if it verifies. Now, oops, sorry about this. There we go. Now, this is unlikely to verify because this is one model one, and we don't just look at one model one, we look at quite a lot. We look at the ensembles. So, and I believe it will be fairly unlikely because the Atlantic is quite active, and that could easily freshen up things a little bit. Very easily. Not saying it would, and I'm not saying it will not, but again, we need to take this with a pinch of salt, really, if this had to happen. because, you know, the high pressure that is on this is not very strong, actually. It's more of a weakening future that is only to the east, so it may not happen at all. But it is a possibility, actually, that we could see some, at least a period of hot spells likely at times. Looking at the 6 said UK weather forecast on the GFS, you can see, let me just do that one more, oops. Let me reset this because it's done that. If you look at the 6 said, again, Zorsai retreats to the south and it's applying more of a northwesterly regime with the Atlantic, so showers, long spells of rain coming into the weekend, but that another ridge of high pressure builds in throughout the week. This time it's more defined really without any low pressure to the west, but could still be quiet. It looks like a hot and a thundery, humid regime if this happens. Unfortunately, it would obviously be a bit settled, but it would definitely be a lot more hot and thundery, much like more likely with this heat wave. Really, it's quite a good setup for it. Really, we've got Atlantic to the north, we've got very hot air to the southeast, so it is the perfect conditions for it. Hopefully, because you know it's been quite boring here without the thunderstorms. Otherwise, as we go to the rest of August, more of Atlantic regime again. Could cool down the temperatures just a little bit, especially the northwest, but not looking too bad really. Not unsettled and not well. We'll have to see though. If I look at the 6 said weather forecast on this one, again, it's very similar, if not quite identical actually. More confined to the southeast, but you can see here we've got a huge contrast. Wow, I've not seen this before. Northwestern Scotland could very well be back in the teens, or the southeastern areas could be in the mid to high 30s, which would be a remarkable contrast, really remarkable. And again, this is why it would probably spark up some intense thunderstorms, because, you know, it's, you know, it'd be ridiculous how, you know, we've got so much contrast within these ones, so it's likely we could see some explosive thunderstorms if this had to happen. I'm not saying any bets, though, but it is likely, really, because this would be quite intense otherwise. But still, 6 said it's going with a run on quite intense heat, if I'm being completely honest. But then, obviously, as we get into... was I looking at the 6 said then? Let's do this one more time. Well, obviously, like, if this is actually verified, obviously, that's what would have happened, really, as well. So I have to... Again, we'll take these with a pinch of salt. And we'll see this happens. No, this is the 6 said, actually. I was looking at the 12 said, I think, but I can't remember. Let me just do this one more time. I think I was looking at the 12 said, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, I was looking at... Sorry, that was the 12 said I was looking at. This is the 6 said. That was my fault. I'm so sorry about that. Let's see what this is saying. Again, we've got the Azor sign. That's going to retreat south. We're going to have a northwesterly regime. For a time, not for that long now. Wait, no, that was the 12 said. This is the 6 said. Sorry about that. That's my fault. Yeah, like I said, Azor sign weakens. As we go to the south, get an Atlantic ridge forming. Then we've got a high pressure forming to the southeast. Again, that will off to southeasterly direction with some low pressure system to northwest. With some cut-off flows possible. Again, very changeable, really. So it's obviously not just going to be hot and humid. So it's going to be quite unsettled at times. Not overly, but still could be quite unsettled. Again, this is the 12. This is 6 said. It's not as intense as the 12 said or the 0 said, but this time we're still got 35 Celsius though, which is still quite hot actually. And we've seen 35 Celsius for quite a lot this year, which is quite concerning. And finally, looking at the 18Z run. Let's have a look at the 18Z run really quickly. Again, we've got the Azores High weakening. So you go into the south, should I say, and then we've got a ridge forming, a northwesterly regime, bringing showers and longer spells of rain. Then the high pressure builds in, once again bringing a southerly direction. Again, it could easily be that low pressure could just waft in and just, you know, it could just wash it backwards. But it's unlikely, really, because it's quite established, this high pressure. And it's not, it's not really high pressure, really. It's more like hot, thundery theme, really. Because you can see here, it's not overly high pressure. 10-15 millibars is actually neutral, really. But still, that would waft in some southeasterly airflows. And then as we go into the rest of August, the early August, Atlantic could wake up a little bit, and it could bring some showers and longer spells of rain. But still could be quite above average, hence the Atlantic influence. So let's have a look at temperatures from the 18Z. You can see very, very similar, really. Still suggesting 36 to 37 Celsius, a bit quite identical. Oops, was this? No, this is the wrong one. There we go. Still suggesting 37, perhaps even 38 degrees, but a lot more confined to the southeast. So that's what it's really saying with this one, as the 18 Z goes really. And obviously after that heat would build. Obviously we get more Atlantic controls, really more unsettled, perhaps even cooler at times, into early August. Perhaps a southwesterly theme as well, with plenty of thundery conditions if the conditions are right. If you do have a look at the ECM, you can see I might have a look at this one really, but we can see we've got the high pressure to the west, and that's going to retreat south, allowing a ridge of low pressure to form. So we can see showers along spells of rain. Once again, that will bring a cold front through, bring some fresher conditions for the weekend. But like I said, we could see that high pressure returning, building on a ridge. We've got low pressure to the west. We've got relatively hot, thundery themes there. If that clashes, that could be some thunderstorms going on there. So it's looking quite interesting for that, really. And if this verified, if we have a look at the temperatures at 858 PA, we've got a slow warming trend after we've got that cold front in, so throughout the week. So you can see here more of a subtropical air mass will move in. And even into northern England as well. So mostly south-eastern areas, especially eastern areas, we'll be seeing the hottest conditions. And I'd rather take this one a bit more seriously than the GFS, really. If I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't, do that. Otherwise, south-eastern areas would be getting the most of the hot weather. We're going to see 19 degrees at 800 PA. So obviously this is the temperatures at the higher up in the atmosphere. So I would add 10 to 15 degrees onto that, so probably around between 29 and 34 Celsius. So that is the most likely temperature range we're going to see, rather than obviously the high 30s. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong. But I feel like the ECM could be a little bit more accurate than that, because that would be more realistic, wouldn't it? And finally, looking at the UK Met Euro 1, we can see here we've got the Azores High retreating south. We've got low pressure to the north, and that's going to move in, bringing some showers, longer spells of rain as well for the weekend, with the high pressure to the southeast building in throughout the week, with low pressure to the southwest. That's a thundery low, I think. And that could have been some fairly subtropical air masses at times as well. So thank you very much for watching. Again, quite mixed with the models, really, especially with the GFS. Looking at all these, really, obviously most of these are saying heatwave is likely at the end of July, before we get some more changeable conditions for August. That's the profile, I think. Also, the outlook that is the most likely for now. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.